Hey y'all, week 6, getting ahead of depression. I wanted to talk today about closing doors. When I would think about closing doors in my healing process, in my head, I'm thinking about one door needing to be closed and that's it. Not really recognizing that there might be multiple doors in different areas that I need to close in order to continue my healing. It's not just one door where it's like, this was one chapter in your life and now you close the door completely on that chapter. But there's multiple doors that need to be worked through. Multiple doors, where you have to kind of, understand that some of those closed doors might not come with closure. We expect closure to happen when these doors close. And I think that unrealistic expectation causes us to it turns into disappointment. And then that disappointment turns into resentment, and then we harden our hearts and all those things. And, I just don't want to be in that space. That's just not who I am. I don't want this experience to cause me to be resentful or be hateful. And so some of those doors that I've had to close, I had to realize that some of them didn't, they're not going to come with closure. They may never come with closure. But as long as I'm able to close those doors and be obedient, I can fully walk into what God has, in store for me. The biggest thing that I did last week was I let go of my wedding dress. When you get married, you don't think that you're going to get divorced. You think happily ever after. You have that hope and that dream that everything is going to be, all butterflies and flowers, right? I think letting go of my wedding dress, and being able to process that was me allowing me to be truthful with myself. And no longer living in that false perception. It was me letting go of the hope that I had, for that moment in life or just for my life in general. And when I was processing closing that door, I thought about the fact that, this entire time I'm thinking, with this chapter in my life that there's just one door that needs to be closed. When in reality, there's so many doors that become open in a relationship that's not driven by God. And with that being said, when it comes to the healing process, all those doors need to be closed. It's not just one main door, it's multiple doors. I've been able to close the doors in multiple areas when it comes to mental, emotional healing, but not really recognizing that something physical that I was holding on to was also allowing me to not walk in my truth. It wasn't allowing me to grow, and it just no longer aligned with where God has me headed. And so holding on to that one thing, or holding on to the physical things, the mental things, the things that hurt me, as long as I'm holding on, I can't let go to receive anything. As long as I'm holding on, I can't grab the handle to close the door. As long as I'm holding on to the door, keeping my foot in the doorway, there is just no room for me to fully heal in the way that I need to heal. And so last week was emotional for sure. I had to deal with some hard truths. I had to fully close the door, which meant releasing not only mental, emotional things, but also physical things that no longer served a purpose for me. And so I can say that once I, took my wedding dress to Goodwill and I released it, I did feel free. I did sit in that emotion. I did allow myself to cry. I allowed myself to sit in that grieving process and sit with the reality that, this dream and this hope that I had is done. But also recognizing that while this is done, I'm releasing something that may not have been for me, that was not God driven. I'm releasing something that, although it was a tough time, it allowed me to learn. It allowed me to heal in the way that I need to. But also in that release, my hand is now open. I'm able to receive whatever God has for me in the next stages of life. So hopefully this encourages someone to really sit and ask God, what doors do I have left open? What doors do I need to close? What am I holding on to that I'm not releasing? Because as long as you're holding on to something, you know, that thing is also holding on to you and can affect you mentally, emotionally, physically. All I know is that moving forward, you know, I'm willing to and ready to release what it is that I've been holding on to and no longer allowing it to hold on to me. In that release, like I said, I was able to really come to the truth, the hard truth. You know, the marriage didn't work out. Doesn't mean I'm a bad person. Maybe that wasn't for me. It wasn't what God aligned for me. These things don't define me. It wasn't the plan. And so releasing the plan that I thought was mine, releasing the plan that I thought was going to be my forever, happily ever after, and living in reality that in this release, I'm only growing, I'm only getting better, I'm letting go of the things that no longer align with me, and I'm able to continue my healing process in a way that supports a new reality and not a false reality, in a way that supports me understanding that I am, you know, capable of being loved in the way that is correct. Continuing my healing by seeking wisdom from others who can give me the tools and the resources and the supports for me to have a healthy relationship, for me to be able to teach my kids what healthy relationships look like. And so I definitely feel like a weight has been lifted for me. I will continue to close these doors so that I can just continue to grow, keep my heart space clean. With that being said, I'm going into this week with my hand open, not holding on to the things that will keep me in these spaces, and we'll just see what the Lord has in store for me moving forward. Take care of yourselves. I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon.